Chapter 12. Earth's Companion in Space. Moon. Walking on the Moon. Artificial satellites. Eclipses. Space exploration. The Sun and the celestial bodies that revolve around it form the solar system. Apart from the planets, there are also comets, asteroids, satellites of various planets and dwarf planets in the solar system. A satellite is a celestial body that orbits a planet. All planets revolve around the Sun in fixed paths called orbits. The Earth is different from all other planets in the solar system. It has water, air and soil. As the Earth goes around the Sun, the Moon goes around the Earth. The Moon is our Earth's closest neighbor in space. The Moon is the Earth's natural satellite. Moon. The Moon is spherical like the Sun and the planets. The full moon is the brightest heavenly body in the night sky. It is smaller than the Sun, though it appears to be of the same size. This is so because the Moon is closer to us than the Sun. Its distance from the Earth is about 3,84,400 kilometers. It is smaller than the Earth. It does not have any light of its own. The moonlight we see is only reflected sunlight. There is no air or water on the Moon. No life can exist there. The Moon's gravity is 1/6 of the gravity of the Earth. In the absence of air, no sound can be heard on the Moon. Only a small portion of the Sun's intense heat can reach the planet during the day because of the layer of atmosphere that surrounds it. It prevents the Earth's heat from escaping at night. The atmosphere protects us from dangerous radiations and meteors which would otherwise have fallen on the Earth. Surface of the Moon. The surface of the Moon is rough, uneven, dry and dusty. It is covered with craters, mountains and valleys. There are big, round hollows called craters on the Moon. These craters are formed when meteorites crash into the Moon's surface. We know from the rocks that astronauts brought back to Earth that the Moon's surface is covered in a dark gray dust. Phases of the Moon. When the Moon revolves around the Earth, its shape appears to change day by day. The different shapes of the Moon, as visible from the Earth, are called its phases. The shape during a particular phase depends on the lit portion that we can see while on Earth at a given time. Phases of the Moon. Half moon. More than half of the Moon is visible. Full moon, one side of the Moon is visible. More than half of the Moon is visible. Half moon. Only a small portion of Moon is visible. New moon, the Moon is not visible at all. Only a small portion of Moon is visible. Walking on the Moon. The first men to land on the Moon were the crew of the American space mission, Apollo 11. It was launched from the Kennedy Space Center at Florida on 16 July 1969. The rocket that carried it into space was Saturn V. The American spacecraft Apollo 11 landed successfully on 21 July 1969. Neil Armstrong and Edwin Aldrin stepped on the Moon's surface while the third astronaut, Michael Collins, remained in the spacecraft to circle the Moon and keep in touch with the Earth. They collected rock samples to bring back to the Earth. These rocks have given scientists a lot of information about the Moon. Artificial satellites. Artificial satellites are man-made objects which orbit the Earth. The Earth's only natural satellite is the Moon. Like the Moon, artificial satellites reflect the Sun's light and can be seen clearly in the night sky. In order to launch satellites into space, we need to overcome the Earth's gravity. This is achieved by launching satellites with powerful rockets. When Russian scientists launched Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite, into orbit in 1957, the space age officially began. Since then, numerous satellites have been sent into space. Russian Major Yuri Gagarin became the first man to travel into space on 12 April 1961. Valentina Tereshkova of Russia was the first woman to go into space. Squadron leader Rakesh Sharma was the first man from India to enter space on 3 April 1984. Kalpana Chawla was the first Indian woman of Indian origin to fly to space. The first Indian satellite to reach space was Aryabhatta, which was launched in 1975. Bhaskar, Rohini, Apple, Insat 1A, Insat 1B, Insat 1C, Insat 1D, Insat 2A, Insat 2B, Insat 2C, Insat 3B, Insat 3C, Insat 3A and Insat 3E are some other Indian satellites. Uses of artificial satellites. Initially, artificial satellites were designed for scientific research and to give us valuable information about the atmosphere surrounding the Earth. There are different types of satellites, each designed for a specific purpose. Satellites which send messages from one country to another are called communication satellites. Such satellites send signals for TV and radio programs and telephone calls. Navigation satellites help ships and aircrafts find their way. Astronomy satellites carry telescopes into space. Astronomers use such satellites to take special measurements of our solar system, stars and galaxies. Ground stations on Earth send and receive signals to and from these satellites. Weather satellites take pictures of the movements of clouds and help us forecast weather. They can give us early warnings of dangerous storms or cyclones building over the seas, forest fires, floods or moving glaciers. Eclipses. Eclipse is the technical term for hiding. When the sun's light falls on the Earth and the moon, their shadows are cast, and they begin to play hide and seek. Eclipses are nothing but the shadows of the Earth and the moon. Sometimes, the sun, moon and Earth come into a position as though they are all in a straight line. At times the Earth comes between the moon and the sun, and at other times, the moon comes between the sun and the Earth. At such times, the celestial body in the middle casts a shadow, which partially or wholly hides the other celestial body from the sun. This is called an eclipse. Lunar eclipse. The moon circles the Earth continuously. At times during this journey, the moon moves into the dark shadow of the Earth and does not receive any sunlight. Then it gets hidden from view. We call this an eclipse of the moon or lunar eclipse. The Earth's shadow has two parts, one where the Earth totally blocks the sunlight and the other where the Earth blocks a part of the sunlight. Lunar eclipse may be total or partial. When the moon is completely in the dark shadow of the Earth, it is a total lunar eclipse. When the moon is only partly hidden by the dark shadow of the Earth, it is a partial lunar eclipse. During a total lunar eclipse, the moon cannot be seen at all. During a partial lunar eclipse, only a part of the moon can be seen. A lunar eclipse occurs only at night. Lunar eclipse. Umbra. Earth. Moon. Penumbra. Sun. Solar eclipse. When the moon comes between the Earth and the sun, it blocks some parts of the sun and creates a shadow. People in the shadow of the moon cannot see the sun. It is an eclipse of the sun or a solar eclipse. The moon's shadow also has two parts, the umbra and the penumbra. Solar eclipse may be total or partial. When the sun is completely hidden behind the shadow of the moon, it is a total solar eclipse. When the shadow of the moon hides only a part of the sun, it is a partial solar eclipse. Once the moon moves out of the line, the eclipse is over and we can see the sun again. A solar eclipse occurs only during the day and is of very short duration, a few minutes or so. Solar eclipse. Umbra. Earth. Moon, penumbra, sun. Space exploration. Space exploration is the use of astronomy and space technology to explore outer space. While the exploration of space is carried out mainly by astronomers with telescopes, its physical exploration is conducted both by uncrewed robotic space probes and human spaceflight. The astronauts must wear spacesuits since there is no air in space. Actually, these suits create a small atmosphere around their bodies. They can float because of these unique suits. Spacemen have to do different jobs. Some do experiments, some work inside the shuttle, some do repair outside the spacecraft. Others even repair satellites. The astronauts return to Earth on space shuttles after their mission is over. Rockets can only be used once, whereas shuttles can be used repeatedly. Synopsis. All planets revolve around the Sun in fixed paths called orbits. The Moon is a natural satellite of the Earth. There are big, round hollows called craters on the Moon. The different shapes of the Moon, as visible from the Earth, are called its phases. The American spacecraft Apollo 11 landed successfully on 21 July 1969. The first Indian satellite to reach space was Aryabhatta, which was launched in 1975. Eclipses are nothing but the shadows of the Earth and the Moon. When the shadow of the Earth hides the whole or a part of the Moon, a lunar eclipse occurs. When the shadow of the Moon hides the whole or a part of the Sun, a solar eclipse occurs. The astronauts must wear spacesuits since there is no air in space.